Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 130. Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Jill. Chris and I are your co-hosts and the founders of the Becoming Ellie community.
The Becoming Ellie community is for women over 50 who are interested in being fit, strong, and healthy.
We named our group Becoming Ellie because Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. Chris and I thought we should try to be more like Ellie.
You can find out more about the Becoming Ellie community and sign up for our newsletter at our website, becomingellie.com. And Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I.
Hey, Chris, do you remember talking with Brenda Bland?
Oh, yes, I do. We talked to her in episode 120. She's the ultra trail runner, and she has done some amazing races.
Yes. Well, she and a friend are doing a project called 6 Addiction. They're trying to raise money and awareness for and about addiction. So they are running a 50K a day for 6 days in a row. And they're doing it on some amazing trails.
Oh my gosh, a 50K? That's 31 miles each day. Boy, is that a lot of running.
Oh, yeah, isn't it? So they're actually running this week. The challenge started May 8th, 2023, in case you're listening to this sometime in the future after this episode came out. But at any rate, the website with her video is www.safeproject.us/6-for-addiction.
And that's 6-4-addiction, right?
Yes.
On the URL?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I'll put a link in the show notes just in case somebody wants to check it out.
Yes, there's some great video in there. Anyway, let's get to today's episode. We're talking with Dani Almeyda about regaining our original strength.
Dani has some great advice for us. Let's go to the podcast. One of our Becoming Ellie private Facebook group members, Diane Allen, has been following a program for over 2 years called Original Strength. She says it's making a huge difference to women over 50. Diane suggested we interview Dani Almeyda, who has a local gym and a national certified program.
Dani Almeyda has worked in the health and fitness industry for the last 12 years. Throughout her whole life, health and wellness have had a major influence on her life. Whether it was from her experience as a collegiate athlete, as a director of campus recreation, or as a fitness professional, her experiences and formal education have provided her with a unique perspective and skill set.
Dani is a co-owner of OS Institute in North Carolina and OSI Online, and has a master's degree in exercise science. She brings an abundance of energy, passion, and an incredible drive to help the world regain its original strength. Dani Almeyda, a mother of 2 and a wife to a firefighter, is dedicated to serving her family and community. Welcome, Dani. We are so glad that you could join us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get to connect with you both.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Can you just first tell us about the Original Strength program that Diane told us about?
Sure. So Diane is one of my absolute favorite members here at our facility here in North Carolina. And she is a part of our small group training program that we do. But what you have to understand about what Diane is participating in is she's a member of our gym, but our system that we teach at our gym is actually a part of a certification course that and just education system in general that is actually done all over the world. So while Diane is here in North Carolina working with me, there are people doing this all over the world, and that is what the Original Strength system is. So I'm going to kind of talk about 2 different things. So the Original Strength system is a movement system that helps people tap into their nervous system. Your nervous system is incredibly important, and a lot of times most of us are walking around with a unregulated nervous system. So we're either overstressed, haven't been moving enough, maybe we are feeling achy and tight, stiff, just not feeling good in our bodies. And a lot of times, again, it's because our nervous system isn't feeling right, whether that is due to stressors from life or just from lack of movement in general. And so what we do is teach people how to move in very, very gentle ways to reset the nervous system. And so we call it pressing reset. And we basically just take them through some very generalized movements. I feel like I talked a lot. So
that's okay. Well, let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
Your facility is in North Carolina, but you offer online training, I believe, right? That's correct. How does that work?
Sure. So we have like our facility here, which we've been here for over 14 years here with the gym. But then we also have an online training platform called OSI Online. And we have a series of different programs we put out to online, just like a video library where people can see hundreds and hundreds of videos or exercises if they want to learn how to, to do something, whether it's perfect their push-up, to just learn how to move in a way that might help with an achy shoulder or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
The original strength program, you said people are doing it all over the world. So are there other coaches all over the world?
Right.
And it's in this OSI?
Right. So actually I own two different companies. So I own a gym, which is brick and mortar for people to come in like Diane, that we get to work with on a daily basis. But we also own a company called Original Strength, which is where we actually coach coaches and physical therapists and chiropractors and massage therapists and even doctors. We actually teach them this movement system. And that is where people are really getting out and sharing what that system is.
And that focuses on movement to support the nervous system?
The nervous system. Yes. It sounds crazy, right?
It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Right. So our name, Original Strength, comes from the idea that we were created to be we are awesomely and wonderfully made. We're created to thrive for a lifetime. And so our body, we kind of believe in a few main things, right? So awesomely and wonderfully made body, but also that our bodies were designed to heal themselves. And we do that by talking really nice to our nervous system. Again, if our nervous system is unregulated and not taken care of, it's really hard to feel good or move good. Okay. Move well. Sorry, that wasn't very good. But our name, Original Strength, is from the idea that as a baby, we were going through, this is where I'm going to sound a little off the ball for a minute. But as a baby, we went through a series of developmental movements. I assume both of you have seen a baby.
Yes.
Right.
The first thing that happens when a baby comes is it starts to breathe, right? So babies start breathing, and that's actually where we build our first of our core strength. And so baby starts breathing and we're building core strength and stability. And then we go into this next developmental milestone where babies start to learn how to hold their head up. So we have head control, and baby starts to get strong enough. Actually, a baby's head is 33% of its body weight. That is a lot of weight for a little tiny baby to hold. And that's actually how they start gaining strength to be able to sit up. So it's where our spine actually develops that strength and that posture. Once you get into the head control section, you start gaining head control as a baby. You then start, rolling around on the floor, start learning how to move. Our body starts learning how to work together. And that leads us into sitting up and to being able to get on your hands and knees and to rock back and forth. And rocking lends into crawling. And we start crawling around and we start getting our gait pattern. So getting the gait pattern is the walking patterns for the listeners. So that is a pretty important thing to be able to do. We want to have total joint integration of your body with your shoulders, working with your hips and your knees and your legs, right? So we go through this series of movements as babies to be able to stand up and get strong and to walk and to live and be strong people. So our name, Original Strength, comes from the idea that this is how we gained our original strength, and that as adults and just as wherever we are now, we can go back to those same developmental movements to regain our strength, because a lot of times most of us have started to lose some of that. I just talked a lot again.
Oh, that's okay. So I never really thought about a baby, all those developmental things as really being
the basics. Yeah.
It's one big workout there.
It is.
No wonder they sleep so much. A lot of recovery.
It's the original upper body workout, lifting that head. Okay.
It is. So So, and actually we can kind of mimic that even for, for adults, like our head, if we had our head at 33% of our body weight, that would, let's say we were 100 pounds, it's a 33-pound head. Most adults are an 8 to 10 pound head, give or take a little bit. If you're a baby, you're getting a lot more input into your system, right? So when you're a child, it's really is a workout. So when you're doing the tummy time as a baby, you're getting the ultimate workout there.
Wow. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. But so I have a question actually about the gym for a minute. You call the gym for your gym a gym for the non-gym lover. What's different about your facility and program?
Yes, there's a lot of people in the world right now, and only about 5 to 10% of people are physically active and taking care of their health in the whole world, which is insane.
Did you just say 5 to 10%?
Yeah, if you are working out and moving your body on a regular basis and you are eating healthy, you're in the top 5% of the world of people taking care of their health.
Maybe I hang out with people who do that, and that's why it just seems like it's everybody but me.
Oh, yeah. And there's, of course, like the extremes, right? But the majority of people are not physically active throughout their week and are not generally eating well. Now, there may be people doing one or the other, but for both, it's about 5% of population.
Wow.
So,
wow. And that's on a regular basis.
Yes, on a consistent basis. Yeah. Once or twice every once in a while. I'm not counting that as
right. And there's probably a lot of people who do that.
Right. So our gym is focused on helping all the people that need to just find that starting point. They know they don't feel well. They know they need to get moving more. Maybe a typical gym setting is a little intimidating, or they just don't know what to do, or they just are nervous about it. Right. So our gym really focuses on helping find that best starting point for each individual and just helping them start where they're at and kind of ease in. A lot of times what we find is we get people that come in again that know they just want to feel better. They need to start somewhere, and they come in, and then next thing you know, they end up loving the gym and loving the way that movement impacts their body. And I think that's really the thing. They learn of how important movement is on your body and why that is so powerful.
That's cool. Well, I was particularly inspired by a quote that I saw on your Original Strength Facebook page. You said, "You were not meant to be broken. You were intended to be strong, healthy, and resilient. You can regain the strength you were supposed to have, the strength that you once had." So how do you continue to inspire your clients and the different people that you work with?
So in respect to that quote specifically, we do believe you were meant to live and thrive throughout your life to 120 years old. However it is, our goal is to help people be able to get their own mail at 90 years old and be able to play with grandkids or great grandkids or dogs, whatever it is, right? We want people to be able to thrive for a lifetime. And a lot of times people have this mindset of, and I know that a lot of your listeners are 50 plus, or I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
A lot of times we hit this thing where like, oh, I turned 40, like my body is going downhill. Oh, I turned 50, my body is going downhill. I can't do that anymore. I'm too old for that. And we don't believe that. We believe that your body is, again, made to thrive for a lifetime. So in reference to that quote, when it said you're not made to be broken, a lot of times people come to us saying, they feel broken, like they've got injuries, and they identify with their injury as their reason for not being active or just not feeling well, but they think that they're stuck. They think they're broken forever. And our goal, and what we, I think, are really good at, is showing people that they aren't broken, and that they might be hurting or uncomfortable right now, but it's not like a life sentence of brokenness and fragility. We can move our body in gentle ways or find what works for each individual and get out of that. And so I think that's, some of what we provide and inspire is hope, and being able to give people the hope that they will feel better and that they can thrive through the rest of their life.
That's excellent. You apparently begin every training session by pressing reset. Can you tell us what that means and what are the benefits of resetting?
Yes. So pressing reset is part of that original strength system. So the pressing reset is really going back. So actually here, let's reset this here. What do you do when your computer starts not working right, or your phone? What do you guys do?
You reboot it.
Right. You reboot it.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. You throw it against the wall maybe, but
say a few words that we're not going to say here.
but yeah, like you turn it off, you turn it back on, and usually it's working better. And for our bodies, we actually have this internal reset button, and that is going back through these developmental movements that I was talking about that we did as a baby. Again, I know I might be losing some of you talking about what we did as a baby, but this is why it's important during the day. So our clients, yes, we start off every minute or every session with our resets because they've spent all their day usually sitting on their butts and stressed out.
In front of a computer.
Right. In front of a computer. We're stressed out. We're sitting on our butt. So what we do is we bring them in and we say, okay, we're going to lay down and we're going to breathe. So we start every single session, strength training session, with breathing. We take 2 minutes to take nice deep breaths. And I'll explain a little bit more on how to do that too. So if any of your listeners want to practice breathing later, they can. But we take nice deep breaths and we find some different positions that work for each individual to lay on the floor and do that. And then we move our head around just like the baby did, right? So we move our head around up and down and side to side because most people during their day aren't moving their body. We start rolling around on the floor. Again, looks crazy, but it feels really good. We do some rocking movements. So on our hands and knees, just kind of shifting forward and back. And then we do some contralateral movements or crawling type patterns, which are really, really good for the brain. So what we're trying to do is fire up our both hemispheres of our brain, right and left, firing up. And that's a really good way to kind of just wake things up and also improve communication and coordination within the body and the brain. Every single session starts with that. And that really is the resets. And that the idea, like I said, is that all these people are coming into us stressed out, overloaded. They are not in the right headspace. And so what we need to do is regulate their nervous system by taking them down a notch to allow for us to offer a good opportunity for them to move and their bodies to feel like ready for that.
So how does that help with things like your nervous system or your respiratory system and what are the physical benefits of that?
Okay. So if we look at a couple of these different ones, so we look at breathing, for example, there's a couple different breathing patterns that people kind of do on a regular basis. Now, what I want to see is that people are diaphragmatically breathing in their everyday life through their nose. Breathing through your nose, deep diaphragmatic breaths is what is actually good for our system. That is our natural breathing form, or breathing pattern. But a lot of times what happens is people get into a fight or flight breathing pattern and we live there and we don't even know it. We start breathing up into our chest or sometimes being mouth breathers. So breathing in and out of our mouth, not through our nose. Again, these are putting us in a fight or flight mode. Okay. I'm going to explain what that is. So fight or flight mode is basically like I'm running from a bear through the woods. Your brain is automatically assuming that there is danger or it is in an unsafe place. And so when that happens, when you're living in that mode, we're releasing extra cortisol into our system. We are in just total dysregulation in terms of our hormones. If we live in that state all the time of fight or flight mode. So number one thing is we take people in, we start teaching them how to breathe again. Granted, yes, everyone's breathing every day, all throughout the day, but breathing diaphragmatically and out through the nose is the natural way to breathe. And that is the best way for your nervous system. So that can decrease heart rate, decrease blood pressure, decrease pain. Anxiety is a really good way to just regulate your mind and your body. Actually, I'd even go so far as to say, and I've seen this hundreds of times, is if you were to test your body, like say you wanted to try to do a toe touch and you're not able to touch your toes. I know this is going to seem off, but if you stood up and went to touch your toes and you can't touch your toes, let's just say that is, you're not touching it for an example. And then you lay down and you spend 2 minutes doing nice deep breaths. We keep our tongue on the roof of our mouth, breathing in and out through our nose, deep diaphragmatic breaths. and then we go and try to touch our toes again, what we would normally find is that people are able to reach further. Sometimes touching their toes, sometimes even just a little bit more. The reason is your nervous system feels more at ease. It feels more safe. And when your nervous system feels more safe, it allows the brakes to come off of your body, meaning it can improve mobility because your body is feeling safer in that moment, right? If we're always in fight or flight mode, we're probably going to be holding things a little bit tighter. We're going to be a little bit more tense. So when we are breathing diaphragmatically and we're able to say, hey, brain, we're safe, we're chill, we're okay, then our body is able to move better and feel better. So that was one example of how the resets help. Moving our head around up and down and side to side is something that we also do. And when we're doing that, we're actually allowing our eyes and our head to move at the same time. Now, our spine, our body is designed to follow your eyes and your head. So if I look up, my head is going to come up. And as I look up, my whole body is actually going to move into a different pattern. The idea of, when people say, hey, just keep your head up, right? Like
keep your chin up, right?
Right. Keep your chin up, right? So if you look down, your whole body is now in this like forward postured, slumped position, right? When we look up, we look more confident. We are in a better posture, but it's also really like, it's kind of all connected. And that's kind of when we start looking at things as everything is one big unit. You cannot separate your mind and your body. It is all one big piece. So when we keep our head up and we keep our body up and our posture is up, we feel better. And there's science to back this up, I promise.
That's kind of like when you're running and your mental space is not where it should be. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But if you smile, even though you're not feeling like smiling, but you put a smile on your face, it will change your mental. And it does, which is really weird. It doesn't seem like it would, but it does.
Yeah. Well, so you're actually like, you're getting release of endorphins just from the smile or seeing somebody else's
Even
smile.
just putting a pencil in your teeth.
Yeah.
it gets those muscles to move and it changes. I've heard that anyway and I've experienced it to a certain extent. Yeah.
Or when you're really fatigued, you tend to bow their head forward and they're looking at the ground right in front of them. And if you actually lift your head back up and move your gaze further out, you do get a burst of energy from that.
Right. And your body is designed to follow your eyes and your head. So if you're looking forward at where you need to go, your body wants to move in that direction versus down when you're looking down.
Excellent. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. What advice do you give clients who are women over 50 specifically? Is there anything special that we should be doing?
So I would say that it would be good for you to be taking time to press reset. So talking about, some of these things that we just did and actually some of the way, Diane, the one that encouraged us to talk, I think she has discovered that resets have really given her something that she can do anytime at any place. It's not a fitness routine. When I talk about pressing reset, it's really a movement vitamin, right? So again, we've been sitting a little bit. We're not feeling super good. Maybe we've had a stressful day. Maybe we're angry. Maybe we don't have time for anything, but we know we need to move our body. Being able to have the resets in your back pocket or as a tool is a way that you can move your body and give it what it needs. Your body was made to move. It craves movement. And it's simple enough that you can be laying in bed or you can get up from your desk and practice some of these movements. And I know it's hard to tell over audio. So, in terms of what these movements are, but at the very minimum, if you were to practice breathing for 2 minutes a day to help reset your nervous system and also to build core strength. So I do want to stress that when we talk about breathing, it's not just kumbaya, feel good. It does do that, but it's also very good for building deep core strength and stability. When we're breathing diaphragmatically, we are able to engage with our pelvic floor. Our pelvic floor and pelvic health in general is something that, especially as women, as we age, it's something that we're pretty aware of. We want to make sure that our pelvic health stays good and strong. And so breathing with our diaphragm is a really good way to stay in tune with your pelvic health health as well. Like I said, overall core strength. So spinal stability. And as runners, because I know that you guys are doing, so are both of you runners?
Not so much now. Too many injuries.
Okay. But even so, whether you're running or not, like breathing is super beneficial in terms of, well, obviously super beneficial, but intentional deep breathing is going to give you a lot of good supporting stuff. So whether it's like right before you go to bed or first thing when you wake up in the morning, or just to clear your head.
Kind of like combined with meditation.
Right.
That's when I like to do some breathing exercises, or when I'm driving, especially when I'm stressed and I'm driving.
Yeah.
I like to do there was a breathing exercise, and perhaps this is one that you teach about, the 4-7-8. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So
Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm familiar. That's not the method that we necessarily teach, but
okay.
So what you're saying is you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it, and then you exhale. So, there's also versions of that called box breathing, where you breathe up, you hold, so it makes kind of a box. And
you had said you would tell us about the breathing. Can you sort of give us us how we should be, what you would tell us?
So what I would suggest is there's 2 different ways. So for you, knowing that you guys are sitting in a chair, or your listeners, whether you're sitting or laying down, but what I would recommend is setting a clock for 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes if you have the time. And you're going to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. This is the natural resting place of your tongue. So if you're not sure where the tongue is, like where that should be, if you take a really big, like, smell in through your nose, like, your tongue should naturally go to the top. Does that make sense?
Sure. Like right behind your teeth.
Right behind your teeth at the top of your mouth. So this is the natural resting place of your tongue. That's important. Actually, where you keep your tongue is very important. It also changes the posture of your head and your neck, and it helps reduce double chin. So, yes, right. Everyone likes that. We've got our tongue in the roof of our mouth, and we're breathing in and out through our nose. So we encourage in and out through the nose. This is full nasal breathing. And there's actually a couple really good books out there. Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McEwen and Breath by James Nestor are 2 really good resources on breath, all breathing stuff specifically. So for those that are interested in exploring more there, especially in terms of increasing performance. So tongue in the roof of the mouth, breathing in and out through the nose, and then focusing on deep breaths into the belly. Now, what you can do is put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And if you feel that your chest is rising prior to your belly, your abdomen, then we know, okay, you're a chest breather. All right. So you're probably breathing up into the chest a little bit more than deep down into the diaphragm. And a lot of women do this. Okay. And there's multiple reasons. One, we want to suck in our belly and look really thin and hold our chest high and things like that. So we tend to hold stress in that upper shoulder area. So we start to breathe a little bit more up into our chest. So it can be a hard thing to reset that pattern to actually find your diaphragm. So the easiest position to me is to have people lay down on the floor on their stomach with their head on their hands. So we call this crocodile breathing. And you're just laying on the floor, taking deep breaths, again, tongue on the roof of the mouth, in through the nose, in and out through the nose, and deep into the belly. And when you're laying on the floor, it gives you a little feedback from the floor. So meaning I can feel my belly moving against the floor. And that's what we are looking for when we're breathing. So I would encourage, give all of you homework is to spend 2 minutes in the next 48 hours, spend 2 minutes just taking nice, deep breaths and see how you feel. And like I said earlier, you can even test it to see how it impacts your nervous system. I mean, first of all, I know for sure that if you spend 2 minutes of breathing, you're going to feel more relaxed and more calm. You can even look at your heart rate and you'll see that heart rate drop. That's like just the feels and even the number. But if you wanted to test your movement and try to do a toe touch before, lay down and breathe for 2 minutes, and then do that toe touch again. And I'm using a toe touch as a generalized movement. You could do any movement you want, but you'll see a change in the way that your body moves after that 2 minutes of breathing. So yeah, so that's what I would recommend for breathing for the starting point. Now, when I teach this as certifications, there are I mean, we walk people through about, I don't know, 10 to 15 different positions to put your body in to breathe. As far as certifications, like when we're teaching other professionals how to help people find the best breathing position for them. So like I said, I'm giving you one position right now,
right.
But there are lots of options, obviously.
I know you said you've certified people all over. If we wanted to find somebody who could help us with original strength, how would we go about finding that person?
Sure. So you could go to originalstrength.net, and on that website, there is a find a professional in your area link, and you'll, put in your information wherever you are, and it will pop up with people nearest you. In the case that you are somewhere where there isn't someone super accessible, you can also do these things virtually. And so that is some of what we do with our OSI Online. We'll do assessments through Zoom, write programs for people, help them with whatever their needs are. And then we have some pre-written programs and courses that they can follow as well. So, okay. And we also have a couple of books out. So my business partner has written several books. His 8th book is releasing this Saturday. But for those that want to explore a little bit more deeper, and there is way more to this than what I'm able to share on this podcast. But if you want to explore a little deeper, I would definitely recommend checking out the Original Strength Pressing Reset Reloaded book. And that's on Amazon. It's a good resource.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes to that. That sounds like it'd be helpful.
So we're all faced with challenges throughout life, whether it's family, friends, COVID, work problems, whatever. But getting back into, if you want to be in that 5 to 10% of people who are taking care of themselves on a regular basis, how do you suggest to your clients that they recover their strength after taking time off? How do they get back into the swing of things?
My favorite thing to recommend to people is to get out and start walking. I think walking is the best option for longevity and health. So yes, I own a gym, but yes, I will also tell you to go walk. That is the lowest hanging fruit. It's free. We can do it. It's great to get outside, right? So walking would be one of my number one things, even if it's I'll encourage people to go for 3 20-minute walks. And sometimes it turns into more than 20 minutes. Ideally, I would love people to go for 30-minute walks. So that would be one spot, as well as find ways to move your body. So like we teach that pressing reset is a good way to move your body. It does not have to be a big fancy routine. You do not need tons of fitness equipment to just get started. You just need to find ways to move your body every day. And that's the kicker, is finding ways to move your body every day, whether it is walking or it is, spending time. Like one of the things that we do is crawl around on the floor. We teach a lot of crawling movements to build strength, right? These are all things you can do at home, to other elements of maybe it's, hey, I'm going to do 30 squats and 30 push-ups on my kitchen counter. It doesn't have to be fancy, just starting and easing in, but finding ways to show up in some way every day is generally my advice for getting started.
I know you've talked a little bit about minimum effective dose. Could you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah. So in the last couple years, I've had quite a few things myself going on in life. And so I've had 4 surgeries in the last 3 years. Wow. And I also own 2 businesses. I have 2 kids, and my husband works crazy hours. So I don't have a lot of time, and I have been stressed. And so I have really focused in on finding what the minimum effective dose is that I need to do for me to maintain health and feel good. And so in this case, I was following a program that had me doing about a 30-minute kettlebell workout, usually anywhere between usually about 3 days a week. Now, I always found other ways to move my body on the other days.
Right.
Like going for walks. The idea that it doesn't have to be every day for hours on end, grueling workouts. I just needed to find what the most effective methods were for me to be able to maintain, essentially. So that's minimum effective dose.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good reminder that you don't even if you do strenuous workouts a few times a week, you don't have to do them every day. You can do other.
No. Yeah. No, it doesn't need to be every day. Now, what I will still encourage is there should be some movement.
Right. But you can, on those other days, you can do your 30-minute walk.
Right.
And I'm assuming that you would encourage people that when they're doing their walk to not just be poking along.
Right. Yeah. So ideally, I would like to see like a more brisk walk. So you could have a little bit of a conversation, but it shouldn't be like a full on conversation unless it's a little breathy sounding. That's how you kind of gauge that pace. Right. So if you can talk, but it's not something that you like, if you're going up a hill, right, you're going to feel a little bit out of breath. So,
right. Okay. And do you have any suggestion on the value of having workout buddies, people to walk with, people to work out with, or a community of people? And do you have any recommendations on how to find such people?
Community is incredibly important in many aspects of life, but in a fitness and health arena, it's really important because these are the people that are going to help keep you going on the days that you really don't want to. And yes, there is a level of discipline that we have to have for ourselves, but sometimes it's just not there. And so let's use Diane for an example. Diane is a part of our community, and she knows that if she has a day where she's just really not like feeling super great, but she knows she wants to move. She just doesn't really want to move. That she knows that if she shows up, that she's going to have a group of people there that are going to support her, that are going to encourage her, that are going to give her, just all the positive good things, right? So they'll also call her when she's not there and be like, "Hey, Diane, where are you at? Are you okay? Like, how are you feeling?" So I think community is really important. And I think for finding that for people, I think there's a lot of different ways depending on, where you're at. So I do encourage when there is an option to find a small group training facility, then that is what we do. I think that those are really helpful to be in the presence of other people that are on the same path, right? We want to feel good. We want to go in that direction. So I think that's always helpful. Also, if you don't have that option, like find your one person and commit to each other, tell each other what you want to do, and make sure that these are like positive people, right? You don't want to be the one that's always the one that's pushing, right? You want to find a partner that's going to challenge you, or a coach. And I think finding a coach, and that's what I do. Finding a coach that's there, that's going to help show you what to do and how to do it, and put you on a plan, a program. I think that that's a really good method for staying healthy and sticking to it. So if you're just kind of finding little things here and there, willy-nilly, not really like with a plan behind it, it's a lot harder to stick to something. Finding a program, getting your people, a person, whatever it is behind you, I think is the best ways to be effective.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, you mentioned having some medical issues the past couple of years. How do you keep a positive mindset for getting back into the routines? Do you have advice to share with us? Because I know that a lot of our listeners, there's always times when you hit a stumbling block. Do you have any mantras, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I've had 10 surgeries in my life.
Oh my.
And so this is a really good question for you. How do you do this? For me, I've definitely hit some different like points in my processes, right? There's always your highs and your lows, but I've always just said, we got to keep on going, so I don't know that I'm actually the best example because, I've just never seen it as any other option. Like I know that setbacks happen, and that things happen, and that it's not a life sentence of things being over or done. And so, I'm just going to go ahead and share some of my experiences, but so I was a collegiate athlete, had multiple injuries that set me out of my seasons. That was a total bummer, but it also motivated me to work even harder to come back. But more recently, I had in
February of 2021, I had a mastectomy. It was actually prophylactic. I had a big cancer scare and found out that I carry the BRCA1 gene. And so that puts my risk of developing cancer much higher. And since I had already multiple issues and biopsies on this one stubborn side, the doctors really, really encouraged me to just let them go. And so I did. And that was this, I mean, I'm still actually like in process. Like that's a big process.
That's a big process. Regain strength.
Yeah. So 3 months after I had my mastectomy, I tore my Achilles tendon.
Oh no.
So I really had a fun time with that. And so don't tear your Achilles tendon. It sucks. Don't do that. That's the worst thing.
That's my Achilles tendon. That's my problem too.
Yeah, it's no fun. But so that one was the biggest head game for me because it made it so that I couldn't walk. I was on crutches for a long time. And stuff, but I always found a way to move my body in a different way. Right. And so after the mastectomy, I wasn't able to do anything with my arms. So I started walking. I started doing body weight squats or just practicing my breathing, moving my head around, right? After I tore my Achilles, I couldn't walk. So then I started doing other things, right? I found ways to do things from a seated position. I found ways to move my body or get cardio if I wanted to. I hate cardio, by the way, but I did it. But, I found ways to just move, and there's always a way. So that's, I think, what I would hope that you can, that anyone that's dealing with injury right now is, one, it's not permanent. And if it is, there's always a way. So I know sometimes it can be permanent, and I do understand that. But there's always a way to continue moving your body and find what's best for you. And even if it looks different. So actually, I spoke with someone this week that's dealing with some pain, and she's really frustrated and stressed out about this. And she said, I feel like I don't want to accept that I have limits now. And so what we talked about is reframing that, like not necessarily looking at it as a limit, but looking at it as from the mindset of that we just have to do things a little differently right now. And that's okay. There's nothing bad about that. And now you'll find other ways to get stronger in other positions. And
so you couldn't do your upper body workouts, and then you tore the Achilles tendon. So basically you lost the lower body except for sitting. I mean, so that's quite the challenge. Yeah, that really stunk. I'll be honest. It really, it was really hard.
So did you do cycling? Is that how you did it? Spinning?
So I could. I was allowed to be on a recumbent bike. Once I was cleared to start doing more, because by that point I was able to start moving my arms more.
Okay.
I wasn't able to lift weights, but I could move. And so I did other things like we have battling ropes. If you're,
those ropes. Yeah.
I hate them. They're a great tool, but
they're great, but I hate.
Right. They're hard. So I did stuff from a seated position there. I did some things where you like lay on your back and you use your backside, like your butt and your shoulders to help move you to kind of build strength. I did a little bit of everything. And honestly, I even did some things just because I had a cast on my leg. At that point, I could get back on my hands and knees. So I could do some very basic things. I just couldn't put any weight on my foot. There's always a way. Like there's always a way. And if anyone is struggling with that or needs some solutions, like I would be happy to be a resource for you. I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, 2 ankle surgeries, my Achilles, all the stuff with my chest. So I've pretty much worked on all the body parts.
Wow.
Well, I can see why you, had to figure out how to reduce the cortisol.
Yes. Lots of breathing.
Lots of stress. Yeah. Lots of breathing. Good.
One of the things that as women, as we get older, that we notice is that it just becomes harder to eat whatever you might want. Do you give advice to your clients about eating?
So I do. However, I'm fortunate enough to work with some wonderful nutritionists. So I do refer out, but for the basics, I really encourage people to avoid, the processed foods and more high inflammatory foods, and stick to whole foods as much as possible. That's the low hanging fruit, in my world. And drink your water, right? Like, so drink more water, eat real food. That's the simple way to say it. I think a lot of times, especially as we age, our bodies change, and it is a new body. I had this conversation this week with somebody else, is your body really does things differently. You hit that like certain ages, right? And all of a sudden you're carrying weight where you never did before. You just can't eat this food because it makes you not feel so good or immediately bloat or whatever it is. Keeping in mind that your body changes every several years, right? And you might just have to relearn what your body needs. And so I know a lot of women, benefiting from a more like, again, a whole foods diet, high protein diet, lean, high protein. I'm not saying go eat bacon every day and cheeseburgers, but yeah, avoiding that processed food and some of the more inflammatory foods is usually beneficial.
So do you have any thoughts about the importance of timing of when we eat? Like, should we eat before going to the gym or right after? Or, I've heard a lot of different variations on this, and I just wonder your take on it.
I'm going to give you a lame answer and say it depends.
Okay, fair enough.
So I could like explain a little bit on that, but everybody's different and it depends on the type of workout you're doing and what your body likes. So, I work with a lot of different people, and for me, most of the time I work out and I haven't eaten, and I've almost been on more of a fast in terms of, because I work out earlier in the day. And then I'll work out, or then I'll eat afterwards with a higher protein meal and water. So, that might work for me. There's other people that there's no way that they can come in without having like, a banana and peanut butter or something like that. They just need a little bit to be in their stomach and get the system going. So I think the biggest thing for that is to test things and take note on how your body feels. Like, give yourself a couple days of doing one thing and see what works, and see if, if you're constantly like going through your workouts and you're feeling totally trashed, like you're feeling like garbage and you have no energy for your workout and you haven't eaten, I would say eat more, drink more. If you are feeling sick during your workouts, like throw up sick during your workouts, then maybe it might be the opposite. Maybe you need to eat less. But also keep in mind that sometimes when you get nauseous, it's because of a lack of sugar and fuel in your body, right? So I think it's an experiment for each individual. I'm sorry, I know that's not helpful for you.
That's fair.
I think your point of what you're doing too.
Yes.
I know personally that what my workout is determines how much it matters if I've eaten beforehand or not.
Right. And how long your workout is. And, if you're going to run a marathon versus going to a 45-minute workout.
I feel like we've asked you a lot, but I want to make sure that we've actually covered what we need to cover.
Right. So I feel like we've touched on a lot of different topics and conversations. And, when I do a podcast, I always think, what's something that I hope that the people listening will take away. And in this case, like, I hope that your listeners have thought about spending some time doing some deep breathing and how that can impact their level of stress and physicality, so their mobility. And I also hope that the idea of that you are not meant to be broken, and that if you have an injury that you're dealing with, it is not forever, that we have seasons of life and there's always a way to move forward, and that it is important to continue moving because movement heals your body. And so find a way to keep moving and just keep showing up, and just know that, there's a lot of resources out there, and, finding a community of people like your guys' group is probably a great opportunity for many. I don't know. So those are things that are important to me. Cool. I want everyone to know how awesomely and wonderfully made they are, and that they were meant to like thrive for a lifetime, not feel like we're not able to do things.
Wonderful. And if our listeners want to follow you or learn more about Original Strength or you, or where can they find you online?
Sure. If you want to follow me as an individual, I do try to keep up with my Instagram. If you're on Instagram, it's Dani Nicole A. I'm sure there will be a link. Also, if you are interested in learning more or getting some support from myself or looking for a coach in your area, originalstrength.net is going to be a great resource, as well as I'm happy to be a contact for you directly. And I can give an email address if you guys are okay with that.
If that's okay with you.
Yep. So my email address is Dani@originalstrength.net. And I would be happy to talk with you, help you, or point you in the right direction.
That's great. Well, we'll make sure that those are in the show notes. Okay. And thank you so much for being our guest today. This was terrific, Dani. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Doing the reset would be a great way to relieve stress, I think. The breath work is such an easy way to help our bodies. She mentioned 2 books, Oxygen Advantage and Breath, and I may look for them.
Yeah, I have to agree because this is something that I don't spend enough time with. I think of exercise, I think of the cardio, the lifting weights, but I don't think so much of that getting ready with the reset. And I think that's going to make a big difference for me because I do carry a lot of stress in my shoulders, my neck, that kind of thing.
That was interesting about how we breathe. And that's why women have such tense shoulders and carry all that tension up there.
Yeah, I really think that's a very good thing. I don't consider that about original strength, but she had a lot of really interesting things to say.
Yeah, I love the analogy with the baby developing strength and muscle and lifting that head up. That's quite the upper body workout.
Yeah. And I know just from doing some interesting boot camps where you have to do crawling type exercises, like for instance, the bear crawl. Uh-huh. That is not an easy thing if you haven't been working on it. It really does something for your core. That's for sure.
That bear crawl is a killer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great though. It's great.
But I wonder if it would be good just to crawl around.
Absolutely. Okay. All different ways of crawling. How about all those surgeries she talked about? 10 different surgeries, I believe. Yeah. Wow. Coming back both mentally and physically from surgery is a real challenge. And so I really appreciate the ideas that she gave us.
Yeah. It's hard to come back from an injury, let alone actual surgery. But when you injure yourself in some way, it's easy to just sort of want to baby yourself and not do what you should be doing.
Right. And keeping moving is such a great reason to keep going. There's always something you can do. I'd love to hear, what our listeners say about that. If any of our listeners have some comments, do you have any questions or thoughts about what Dani had to say?
Yes, that'd be great. You can reach us at our website, becomingellie.com, or on any of our social media accounts. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Mastodon.
Also, be sure to join our private Facebook group where we encourage and support each other.
It was great talking with you today, Chris. I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
I am too. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.